Hi, hello, how are you? Welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Whitley, and today we are doing the mid-year book freakout tag. I absolutely love this tag. I love watching it. I love making it. I just think it is such a good mid-year check-in to see how your reading is going so far in the year. I have read 30 books so far this year, which puts me exactly halfway to my goal. I made my Goodreads goal to read 60 books this year. I didn't want to make it something crazy. I thought about doing 100, but I wanted to keep it reasonable. So I went with 60. That's 5 books a month. I think that is more than doable for me, and I am right on track. I honestly cannot believe that the year is already halfway over. Like, summer's almost over, and I've only went swimming like once. That hurts my soul. So before I get too sad about the year already being halfway over, let's go ahead and get into these questions. I will also link the original creators and have the questions down in the description below if you would like them. Question number 1 is arguably the hardest question of all, and that is the best book that you've read so far this year. I did have it narrowed down to a couple of options, but I just have to go with Take a Hint, Dani Brown. So this follows Dani Brown, and she is such a headstrong, independent woman. She has always been career focused, and she actually ends up getting trapped in an elevator at work, and her really good friend and the security guard, Zafir, ends up coming and saving her, and someone has posted a video online of her like holding her in his arms out of this building, and the internet goes crazy. So they decide to do this fake dating thing to benefit both of them, because Dani wants a friends with benefits situation, and Zafir has this charity that he has been trying to get off the ground, and obviously the more publicity the better, so they decide to start fake dating. And you know how most fake dating tropes end. They end up catching feelings for each other, and Talia Hibbert just does such a good job with writing characters. I read Get a Life, Chloe Brown last year, and it was, I believe it might have been my favorite book of last year, if not definitely top 3. They are just so relatable and so real, and you don't just get the butterflies and the roses. You get the challenge and the rawness of the characters. You get their struggles. You get their baggage, and I just love Talia Hibbert's characters. And I know that these are so widely talked about here on BookTube, but God, they are worth it. They deserve all of their hype. They are so good. Talia Hibbert is such a talented writer. I cannot wait to read everything she ever has written and will write. Question number 2 is the best sequel that you've read so far this year. And I'm going to try to answer most of these questions with different books, or this answer would also be Take a Hint, Dani Brown. But instead, I will go with the second best option, which is Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas. I have been slowly making my way through this series, and I absolutely loved Assassin's Blade and Throne of Glass, but Crown of Midnight just took it to the next level. I adored this book. So of course the Throne of Glass series follows Selena, a Darlin's assassin, as she is competing in this competition to become the king's new royal assassin to gain her freedom. And this takes place after she, spoiler alert, wins the competition in Throne of Glass. I think we all know that happens. I'm pretty sure that's not a spoiler because it's obvious that she's going to win. It's just how and the journey that she goes to win it. So in this, we are following her journey after she actually becomes the king's royal assassin, and the world just opens up so much in this book. The first one really focuses on our main characters and just what's going on in the castle, and this just expands on the world so much. And I'm not gonna lie, the relationship in this book, like, it was so good. It was giving me all the feels, all the serotonin. I was so here for it. So good. I absolutely cannot wait to continue this series. I'm going to be reading the 3rd/4th book in August, which is Heir of Fire, and I have been trying to find Queen of Shadows everywhere. Everywhere is sold out of it in hardback because I have the series in hardback. And Queen of Shadows is nowhere to be found. So I'm just like impatiently waiting, because I know as soon as I finish Heir of Fire, I'm going to want to pick up Queen of Shadows, and it's going to make me really sad if I can't find it. But my search will continue. Question number 3 is new releases that you want to read but haven't gotten a chance to yet this year. And I have 2 answers for this. Of course, you know the first one is Act Your Age, Eve Brown by Talia Hibbert. I have been so excited to get my hands on this book, and I finally do, and I'm definitely going to be reading it next month. I am so excited. This follows the youngest Brown sister, Eve, And she is just like a hot mess. And her parents are fed up and finally want her to grow up and get a job. So they kind of cut her off, I think. So she goes to this bed and breakfast to apply to be a cook. And there she meets Jacob, who is like her opposite. Perfectionist, control freak. And he wants nothing to do with Eve Brown in his kitchen. But when Eve accidentally hits him with her car and breaks his arm, he obviously is going to need some help around this bed and breakfast. So against his better judgment, he lets Eve stick around and help. And I think this is just going to be another lovely example of opposites attract, enemies to lover story. And I am so excited to dig into it. The other one that I absolutely cannot wait to dig into is One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. Red, White, and Royal Blue was also in my top 3 books of last year, and this is the same author. I don't know as much about this one. I just know that it is a sapphic story about one girl who lives in the present and one girl that lives in like the 70s or 80s, and in this train, they are able to be with each other. I have heard absolutely nothing but stellar things from this book, and like I said, I was in love with Red, White, and Royal Blue last year, so cannot wait to get into this one. Question number 4 is the most anticipated release for the second half of the year. I haven't been keeping up with new releases as much this year, but I do know Benjamin Alir Sands is releasing a second Dante and Aristotle book. I believe it's called Aristotle and Dante Dive into the Waters of the World, and I really enjoyed Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe last year, and cannot wait to see where their story goes. Question number 5 is the biggest disappointment of the year. I am so sad to say this, but A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness, I was quite disappointed in. I just didn't find it very gripping. I kind of found it boring. It took me a while to get through. I love the message that it preaches to children, and I do believe it's a middle grade, so I understand. I just couldn't get attached to the characters, and like I said, I just found it a little boring. And if you don't know, A Monster Calls is about this little boy, and his mom is very sick, and one night this monster made out of this yew tree in his backyard comes to visit him and tells him stories, and in return he says, at the end of my stories I want to hear your story, which is like his biggest nightmare. And it really is heartbreaking how this little boy has to deal with his peers at school and how he is treated like a pariah because everyone knows his mom is sick, and just seeing him have to go through everything with his mom having cancer, it is heartbreaking. I just couldn't get invested in the story. I was also quite disappointed by Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. I just feel like it was kind of really slow and it was so long, and there were some parts where I would absolutely love Jamie, and then there were other parts where I was like,
this dude is a complete dick.
And I get that you have to think that back in that time period that these things were socially acceptable, but it's just so hard to read it now knowing that it's not. Especially with everyone telling me how amazing the show is. But I really wanted to read the books before I watched the show, but I'm just not sure about continuing. I may just say screw it and watch the show because everyone that I've talked to says that the show is phenomenal. And a couple of the friends that I have that have read Outlander and watched the show also agrees that the show is so much better than the books. But I'm torn on what I'm going to do yet. I may give the second book a chance and see where that goes, but undecided. But I was a little disappointed by Outlander. Question number 6 is the biggest surprise of the year, and this one has to be Theirs for the Night by Katie Robert. So I picked this up on Kindle Unlimited. I got a 2-month free subscription from my husband's school. I actually stole it from him because he doesn't read ebooks. He only listens to audiobooks. So I took that Kindle Unlimited subscription, and I was just really in the mood for some smutty romance, and I had heard really good things about Katie Robert, and I just picked up Theirs for the Night on a whim and absolutely fell in love. So the first book is actually a novella and then is followed up by 2 novels. So it's like kind of a trilogy. It's like 2.5 books. But the novella was perfection. It follows this prince and his bodyguard who are like, they've been best friends forever, and they have this like sexual relationship with each other. And they find this girl at, I think her name's Meg. It's been a few months since I've read it, and I can't remember anyone's names, but I think her name was Meg. But they find this girl at a club, and they're like, we have to have her. So they take her home for the night, and obviously Theirs for the Night. And Katie Robert just does such a good job with sex scenes. Like I've read a lot of smut in my day, and she may be one of my favorite smutty writers. Like, you never have to question where anybody's body parts are, which I feel like shows how skilled she is with her writing, especially with a threesome. There's like a whole nother body that you have to imagine into this scenario, and she does such a good job. And I actually really enjoyed the plot as well. I read all 3 books, and I was just really surprised how much I enjoyed this trilogy. Question number 7 is new favorite author, and I know I said I was going to try not to talk about the same things twice, but I have to go with Katie Robert. I can't consider someone a new favorite author unless I've read more than one book from them. And up until this point, I have read 4 Katie Robert books this year and have not been disappointed. So I'm gonna have to go with my girl, Katie Robert. Question number 8 is newest fictional crush. And I have a couple. I know I'm not doing a very good job at keeping this list diverse, but I have to go with Zavir Ansari from Take a Hint, Danny Brown. He is just such a lovely character. He is such a romantic and he is such a sweetheart. And the fact that he deals with so much anxiety, I could definitely relate to. And I just feel like we don't get enough male mental health representation, and Talia Hibbert did such a good job in this. Again, I can never not love Talia Hibbert's characters. They are just phenomenal. And Zafir is no exception. I also have to mention Kale and Dorian from the Throne of Glass series. I feel like they both just love so fiercely and are so protective. And they would do anything, not just for Selena, but just the people that they love in general, like each other. I just love them both so much. Question number 9 is newest favorite character. And I have a couple for this as well. First, we have April Whittier from Spoiler Alert. I absolutely adored her in this book. She is a plus-size geologist, cosplayer, fanfic writer who knows what she wants and will not settle for less. And of course, we do get her insecurities a little bit in this book about being a plus-size woman, but I love seeing her overcome them and still have respect for herself and self-confidence. I just found her so super relatable, and I want to be her when I grow up. Next is Katie from Illuminae. This is our main female protagonist in this book, and she is just such a badass. She does not take crap from anybody. She is willing to do whatever it takes to save the people that she loves, and she is just so brave. Like, the lengths that she goes to not only try to save the people that she loves, but like this entire fleet. I could never. Like, we stan a brave queen, and she is it. I love her so much. Also, Jordan Collins from Meet Cute Club. He is just so obsessed with books, and I feel that. He's so passionate and he's so sweet. He is just an adorable marshmallow of a character, and I loved reading from his perspective so much. Question number 10 is a book that made you cry. And for y'all that don't know me very well, I am such a huge crier. It does not take a lot to make me cry. So I could say quite a few books for this answer, but I am going to have to go with The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. Usually when books make me cry, it's towards the ending, but this book had me tearing up like throughout the whole story. So we follow Addie LaRue, and she was supposed to be in an arranged marriage, but the night before her wedding, she goes into the woods and cries to the gods and asks them to help her out of the situation. So she makes a deal with this god. We don't really know what he is, but she makes this deal that she wants to be free. But of course, the deal doesn't turn out in her favor, and the way that the god makes her free is that no one ever remembers her. As soon as she walks out of a room and she is out of eyesight, she is forgotten by anyone she ever meets. Until one day she walks into a New York bookstore and someone remembers her. I absolutely loved this book. It was such a lovely story. It was heartbreaking. Addie's and I don't remember the guy's name. I don't know. The guy's name that she meets isn't on the flat, but she meets this guy at this bookstore, and just her and his stories together and finally getting to see Addie happy. It was just so heartwarming. And then the ending, I won't give any spoilers, but if you haven't picked this book up, I highly recommend it. I will say that the flashbacks to past Addie, I feel, are a little slow, but overall, I really enjoyed this book, and it had me tearing up throughout the whole story. Question number 11 is a book that makes you happy. And so many books have made me happy this year, but I don't think any happier than the Heartstopper graphic novels. I read Heartstopper Volume 1 last year and actually reread it this year to read Volume 2. I haven't read 3 or 4 yet, but I just love their relationship so much, and even their individual characters are just so cute and enjoyable to read about. And I have never stanned side relationships like I do in this graphic novel. Like, all of the characters are just so cute, and I want them all to be happy, and this, I cannot wait to read volumes 3 and 4. This graphic novel series has just made me so happy. Question number 12 is the most beautiful book that you have bought or received this year. And thanks to my TBR game, I have been on a book buying ban for most of the year. But I actually just won my TBR game, so if you haven't seen that, go check it out. but I actually just won, so I got to do a book haul. And one of the books that I bought in that haul was This Savage Song by Victoria Schwab. And I just think this book cover is so beautiful. Like, we have our little guy down here with his violin, and the wings are like coming from him and his violin, and it is just stunning. So I'm not really sure what this is about. I know that it is a very popular duology, and after reading The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, I'm sad to admit that that was the first VE Victoria Schwab book that I've read. So I would love to get into more of her backlist, so I got The Savage Song. It is a duology. Again, I'm not really sure what it's about. I know that there are like monsters and morally gray characters, and I am just really excited to get into it. And question number 13, books that you need to finish by the end of the year. This question always has so many answers. I mean, there's so many books that I want to read by the end of the year. My two most anticipated new releases, the new Dante and Aristotle book that's going to be coming out, but mostly I just want to get some of the series that I'm in the middle of finished. So I definitely want to try to finish the Throne of Glass series by the end of the year, and I'm also on book 2 of the Bargainer series by Laura Thalassa. I need to finish book 2 and 3 of that. I really need to finish the Illumine files. I need to read Gemina and Obsidio. I am just in the middle of so many series that I need to finish. So my answer for this question is all of the series. And that is it. That has been the mid-year book freakout tag. I have had such a good reading year so far. I cannot wait to see what the second half of the year brings me. Let me know down in the comments what your favorite book of the year has been so far, and let me know if you guys want to see a book haul. I just got like a ton of books because I won my TBR Chutes and Ladders. So I was thinking about doing a haul. Let me know if you'd be interested in that. And I think that is going to be it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. If you've made it this far, I hope you all have had a great first part of the year, and if not, I hope the second part is better for you. And as always, I hope you have a great day, a great week. Continue to stay safe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.